Well, we're going to go back to our version of glam, the Sunday Scrum. Well, journalists covering the action on Parliament Hill could soon be undergoing new security screening. The House of Commons is even considering taking journalists' fingerprints. Now, members of the press gallery are concerned about how they will be assessed and whether they could be prevented from doing their jobs. The House says it needs to strike a balance between media access and security. That is happening in Ottawa as the relationship between government and media in Washington seems to sour each and every day. We are back with round 3 of the Sunday Scrum. Susan Riley, John Ibbotson, and Katie O'Malley, all of them in Ottawa, as I say, our very own glam squad. So, come on, we have to give a nod to the Academy Awards, do we not?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, okay. But Katie, let's talk about this issue. So new processes here for accrediting journalists, or at least proposed, for accrediting journalists who will actually cover Parliament Hill. What exactly is being proposed here?
So this is actually part of an overall tightening of security on the Hill, and what it would involve is anyone who has what they describe as access to politicians, which means the ability to wander the halls unescorted, would have to go through an RCMP security clearance. That would include staffers, that would include House staff, the people who actually sort of work to keep the House of Commons operating. It would include political aides, and yeah, it would include journalists. Not surprisingly, this is not going over fantastically with the journalist community, because what it could do in theory is give the RCMP the ultimate authority over whether or not a journalist, a Hill journalist, can do their job, because it's hard to see how you could be hired and you could work as a Hill journalist covering politics and not be able to go on the Hill without sort of an escort and a pass. So that's kind of what it comes down to, is how much power do we want to give the RCMP to control that, which journalists are able to be in the parliamentary precinct. It's probably also worth noting that in terms of, I suspect it will be pushback from MPs and politicians as well, not on the journalist front, but because they may not love the idea of having to put their hand-chosen staff through a similar process. So my guess is we're going to see perhaps a little bit of a climb down on this. Mm-hmm. It's also, just one more thing, just to give the context, the RCMP controlling Hill security in general, the interior, is a relatively new development. That only happened within the last couple of years. Before, it was sort of a separate parliamentary police force. This is another example of how we're kind of getting used to working with each other and giving the RCMP that power. So that's the context too.
Well, you know, Susan, there will be people at home that are listening to this and basically conclude, yeah, of course, you need to have security when you enter Parliament Hill. So explain why there is journalistic pushback on this proposal.
Just because journalists don't like to be controlled and really don't like to be told what to do. I personally would have no objection, but I'm like an older woman, white, middle class, no criminal convictions. You know, my life is an open magazine, as I like to say. So it wouldn't bother me particularly, but other people might have had things that you know, that they don't want disclosed. It doesn't make them a terrorist or a threat to anybody. So it's intrusive, but I think we should make an important distinction. This is not an expression of hostility towards the media. This is not what's happening in Trump's Washington. This is, if anything, RCMP overkill. I have very little confidence in the RCMP, by the way, but for a variety of reasons, they've earned my lack of confidence, in my view. Nonetheless, this is them trying to control and contain access to who gets onto Parliament Hill. And as Katie points out, political staffers and other people are involved as well. So I don't think we should in any way characterize this as an attack on the media.
But, you know, John, given what happened in Quebec, where it was basically uncovered that provincial police were spying in on journalists and their work, what kind of chill effect might this actually have on journalism?
Well, I don't think it should have any chill effect at all. You know, I'm not crazy about it. On the one hand, a lot of people have been very worried about the lack of security on Parliament Hill. The attack of 2 years ago was dangerously close to an actual attack on the Prime Minister of the day. So in the wake of that attack, yes, we had to increase security, and this is just part of that. I'm not worried. You know, the Globe and Mail and the CBC and the other big news organizations already vet the people that they put onto the Parliament Hill. It's not as though we're going to get turned away. I'm more worried about younger staffers of MPs, perhaps representatives of some of the newer media. You know, you got busted for pot when you were in high school or something like that. Now all of a sudden the RCMP is saying that you're not fit to roam the halls of Parliament. So it's all part of on the one hand, the increasingly tough security state that we are living in, and on the other, yes, at least a perceived questioning of the reliability of the media to police themselves.